Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Dream Building 101. I am your host, Dr. Ebony Potts. I am the host of Dream Building 101, and then also I am the author of Next Exit Your Destiny Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. On this channel, we speak with individuals from all different walks of life who are all on their particular path for fulfillment so that we can hopefully inspire you to get on yours. So today, I have the pleasure of speaking with a young lady that I met through her mother, actually. I worked with her mom at Andrew Jackson High School in Jacksonville, Florida, and she had nothing but wonderful things to say about this young lady, about just how bright she was, and she happens to be in a field that is very, very much so not a field that we often see females in, and definitely not Black females. So I definitely wanted to have her on to speak about her unique experiences in this field, but I will not delay anymore. I am speaking with Miss Lisa Solomon. How are you today, ma'am?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. So, why don't you tell the people who you are? We already told them your name. What is it that you do?
As she said, I'm Lisa Solomon. I'm native of Jacksonville, Florida. I graduated with an electrical engineering degree from Florida State University, the FAMU FSU School of Engineering, and I am a federal employee. I work for the United States government in the Department of Commerce in the agency of the United States Patent and Trademark Office.
That's a mouthful.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Just know that I'm a civil service. I have a civil service career. So that's to make it
Okay.
short.
All right. So, what was your career path like? So you went to FAMU, which my father-in-law is a FAMU nut. Lots of people from Florida. Definitely shout out to FAMU. But and for those of you who do not know, FAMU is Florida. I'll let you go ahead and tell more about your undergrad experience. But talk about your undergrad experience. What is FAMU for those of you who are not familiar with FAMU? And then once you graduated, how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
So actually, I went to Florida State, but I did go to FAMU FSU School of Engineering. So for those that don't know anything about that, FAMU is Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. It is a historical Black college and university, and it's in Tallahassee, Florida, and it's literally sort of across the railroad tracks from Florida State University, which is a predominantly white institution. So while I did go to Florida State University, I went to the School of Engineering that FAMU shares. It originally was FAMU's School of Engineering, but FSU now shares it. So that was a very unique experience because I saw other Black people as engineers. And for a chocolate girl like me, that was really amazing thing to see other Black students trying to do what I did. And it didn't matter that I was at Florida State University. I got to collaborate and share just the experiences of being Black and being a college student, being Black and being a field that was predominantly white. So it was really amazing. I loved my time in the School of Engineering. We had a lot of fun while we studied. So that was great. But once I graduated, the one thing I knew I didn't want to actually work directly in the field of engineering. I knew I just wanted to take my skills, the skills that I learned studying, to apply it to whatever career I was going to uh, embark on. And I actually embarked on this particular path in an accidental way. I never intended to work for the government. That was not like my career goal. Um, but what happened was, as I was looking for a job, I picked up a magazine that my career center had at the School of Engineering. And I was just flipping through and I saw an advertisement for my agency. And that triggered a memory for me. A friend of mine that I went to church with in college, she actually got a job at the agency. And I said, you know what? Okay, let me look into this a little bit more. Went to their website, found out what the job was about, and I applied. And that application led to a phone interview. The phone interview led to an offer, and almost 15 years later, I'm still in the job. So,
Wow.
um, for me, it was a bit of an accidental thing because I got out of school and didn't know exactly where I was going to go, but knew what I wanted to do, what I wanted sort of my job to look like. And I'm happy to say that I was able to find that.
So what do you do? Like what is it that you do on a daily day basis that the layman could understand? Because I was a
Uh,
science major, but I am not an engineering person. So could you explain to us what it is that you do on a day to day?
as I said, I am not directly in the fields of engineering, but I use the skills that I learned studying engineering to apply to my day-to-day job. So a lot of my job is analysis. So I'm just analyzing. So for those of you that don't know, the United States Patent and Trademark Office is where people send in applications for a patent for an invention that they've created. So, the job of a patent examiner is basically to examine those applications. So, the day to day work is just a bunch of analysis, just analyzing and examining what's before you. So, that in that sense, the engineering field really helps because it teaches you how to go through the steps in the process of analyzing something, go through the steps in the process of critically thinking about what's before you. So I'm forever grateful for the experience because, like I said, it aids me in my day-to-day job.
Well, definitely. I'm a old science teacher. So as you are talking about, what it is that you're doing, the first thing that pops in my head is like the scientific method. So those of you that went to school, had a science teacher and you remember any of that, analysis is really all about the scientific method. What's the problem? And obviously these people have already sent it in, so this is not necessarily, I guess, really a hypothesis, but you're going through that information and picking apart and just analyzing what you have and then coming to a conclusion. And that's all, scientific knowledge stuff in general. So that's
Right,
great.
right. That's
Um,
exactly where my job is. So every day, scientific method.
yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about a challenge you faced on your path, a turn back moment or so, and how did you overcome it?
So I would say that definitely was in college. I started off as a mechanical engineering major, and I was in a program called Inroads, which was an amazing program that helped a lot of college students, get internships. So I had an internship at a company out in Blunt Island in Jacksonville, Florida, and I lost my internship. So I was in college and I just did not know what I was going to do. It was a really difficult time. I was so scared because it was like all of my dreams and my hopes for getting a college degree and for getting a career and doing all these things that I wanted to do, especially as it pertains to my family. I was one of the first on my mom's side of the family to finish college. They all went, but nobody really finished, got the degree, and I wanted to be that person that did that. So it was as if, everything started to crumble. But through a lot of prayer and tears, I was able to gain that strength to say, okay, you've got to pick yourself up. You've got to make a plan to do something different. And one of the scriptures that really helped me was Psalms 27:13. It says, I would have fainted lest I believed to see the goodness of the Lord and the land of the living. And it basically means that I would have just given up if I didn't believe that I was going to see good out of this. So that really helped me and gave me the strength to just say, okay, what can we do? How can we salvage this situation? And so I changed my major. That was the big thing, changing my major and deciding to go with electrical engineering. And that helped because I learned that that was the best fit for me. That mechanical engineering was just, wonderful thing, but it really wasn't what I wanted to do. It really did not help me at all when it came to what my future was going to look like. So doing that just was a big like turn back moment. Like if I had crumbled and didn't keep going, I wouldn't be where I am.
Well, come on, preacher's kid, because I know about your mom and your father as well. So, definitely, as they say, teach up the little children, they shall not depart, because, when you get older, and of course, I've been there. I wasn't, my parents were not, pastors or preachers, but, I definitely was brought up in the Christian faith. And, most of us have gone through the bumps and bruises in the teenage years. And I don't feel like going to church. I don't want to do that. Blah blah blah. But boy, as you get older and you start running into those bumps and those bruises and those roadblocks and those real life situations, boy, does that stuff come back to you. So,
It
you know,
does.
definitely kudos to you. What do you love about what you do, and what is the most challenging aspect of what you do?
What I love is two things. One, no day is ever the same. There's always going to be something different that happens in my job. And then the second thing is the big picture of it all. Innovation is basically fuels our life, it drives our life. Everything that we do on a daily basis, from the products that we use to the appliances that we use, even driving, um, is because someone invented something, someone innovated something. They even either invented it or improved it. And I think that's the most wonderful thing about my job, is being able to know that I had a hand in that process, that the things that we use on a daily basis that we forget, combs, brushes, toothbrushes, refrigerators, all these different things, toilet paper holders, all these things are because someone saw a need in the marketplace. Someone saw a need in our lives and said, you know what? I think I have an idea to make this better, to make our lives better. So I'm so excited about that part of my job. It keeps me going in my job.
That's
And I
pretty cool.
guess you said the most challenging thing. I guess it would be because there's something new every day. There's always a different challenge that you have to meet. Um, you might have done one thing one day this way, but then the next day you may have to do it a different way. So it's always meeting that, having to meet that challenge. That's, something that I, deal with on a day to day basis.
I would think that your job is pretty exciting. It's almost like you get a preview to what's coming down the pike for the rest of us as consumers. That's got to be pretty cool.
Exactly. That is the coolest part, is, seeing things, and then once it actually comes to market and you actually see the product, you're like, okay, that's amazing. That's cool. And I think that's something that, most, um, people in my profession probably would say is the coolest thing, is to be a part of the federal government, to be a part of what the government does on a day to day basis. I think sometimes people think certain things about the government and what people do, but it's the civil service career people that, underpin a lot of what the government is and a lot of what the government does, because we're doing the day to day work. So,
Yeah, basically, it sounds like you're the nurses at the hospital. You know what I mean? You got the
yeah.
doctors. That everybody's like, oh, Doctor So and So, but the doctor comes in for 20 minutes, and that nurse and all of those nurses are there like the rest of the time. They're the ones. They're the real worker bees. So
Yes. The civil service career people, they're definitely the ones that are the nurses. They're the ones that are carrying out those things. The people that you pick up the phone and you call this agency or that agency, the ones that answer the phone, they're there, and they have a depth of knowledge on how to handle, that thing that you might be out of depth in yourself. So I give a big shout out to people that work for the federal government, that TSA person, that person working for Social Security, or that, person doing the air traffic control stuff, all that stuff. They're just doing their job, being citizens, being patriots, and making sure that, the things that you may take for granted, they're done, and you don't have to do that.
I was just about to say that, especially with, Coronaville, a lot of us took, you mentioned the TSA people, and we take a lot of that for granted. And when they were talking, I think at some point, either right before the coronavirus situation or somewhere along that line, they were talking about the people in federal aviation were going to go on strike. And, they were doing everything in their power because, I mean, literally they shut the whole country down. We don't think about all of these people and how important, their jobs are. Like, if they were not people like you, we would be stuck, because all of these innovations, all the things, like you said, that we take for granted, all of the products that are sitting around you right now, at some point had to come through somebody's patent office, in order to be in front of you. So it's pretty important. Tell us something, a recent life lesson that you learned or had to grapple with in the last 2 to 3 years that you feel like, either you got a good grasp on and that you feel like could help someone else.
Time. I learned that time waits for no one. You don't have the kind of time that you think you do to do what you want to do. That's something I've certainly have learned over the last 2 years, not just with the pandemic, because I think the pandemic put that in sharp focus, with the just amount of loss of life that we had, and just how the pandemic sort of shut us all down, everyone down. The plans that you had, that kind of went out the window. But also because I had some personal health challenges starting in 2019, 2020. And I think up until that point, I had this idea that I had a lot of time to do whatever it is that I want to do. And I realized, you really don't have that kind of time. And you really have to prioritize what you want to do. I'm learning through that not to be so fearful to do stuff, because there are a lot of things that I think I waited to do, that I now wish I hadn't. I wish I just had stepped out and did it. And I think just learning that you don't have the kind of time to do the thing that you want to do has really helped me. So if I had to tell anyone that, I would just say, be considerate of your time on this earth. You don't know how long you actually have. So you have to be considerate of that and be intentional about the things that you really want to do. And if you do that and then not be fearful to do it, then I think, there'll be a lot of amazing and wonderful things that you never thought was possible, just simply because you were considerate of your time and you were intentional with your time and you did exactly what you wanted to do.
It's great advice. It's great advice. I think, especially as you start to age, and I don't mean age like 60 or 70 or 80 years old, but I mean, once you get, out of your 20s and you get to 30s and 40 years old, especially as you start to lose people who are important to you, you realize just how fleeting your time and with yourself and the things that you intend on doing, as well as your time with those that you love. So you really, I definitely agree. I approve. Approval on that statement is definitely true. Definitely something that you have to be mindful of. What would you tell 20 or 25-year-old Lisa?
Oh, I would tell her a lot. I would tell her definitely, um, be intentional about what you really want to do. Um, that's one thing. I would tell her to find your fit, find what really fits you. Don't take that time to do that so you don't waste time trying to figure that out. Take that 2 or 3 years to find whatever your fit is that fits your goals, your desires, that fits your personality. And then I would tell her to have a good financial plan. And that includes not getting in a whole lot of debt, but making sure you have a good financial plan so that your future is a lot smoother than it has been.
If you could tell someone out there who may be just getting on their path towards their best life, what would you say to them?
I would say to them something that I heard today in church earlier, and it was to stay the course. Um, they talked about staying the course. They talked about how you can start something, but finishing it and maintaining and staying on that path is, it takes a lot to do that. So anyone who is just starting their path, I would just tell them that you're going to have some obstacles. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have things that will knock you down, things that will come to, stop you. But it's important that you stay the course. Don't give up, because giving up means you are forfeiting what could be. You're not you're not going on to see what actually could be. I think, like I said, had I given up in college, I would not have what I have today. I would not have had the experiences that I've had. And I'm so grateful that my life plan at 20 at 17 years old didn't happen. I had a whole plan of, you know, getting to college, graduating, getting married, having 2 kids, staying in Jacksonville, Florida. That did not happen. I graduated from college, and I moved away from home. And I moved away from home for almost 6.5 years. And those experiences were amazing.
What do you think about any young lady, especially African American young lady, because the numbers are even smaller there, but a young lady that wants to go into a STEM field, what would you say to them?
Do it. I would say do it. Brown girls, chocolate girls, we are necessary in those areas and in those fields, because I believe we just have something to add. There are so many amazing women in tech and so many amazing opportunities for us to change the world. I look at the scientist that worked on the coronavirus vaccines. I look at just what she was able to do. And I'm sure she had a lot of challenges, because being Black in STEM is, still, it's still not a lot of us. And I'm sure it's still a struggle. I'm sure you still have to overcome a lot of things. But I say do it, because your contribution is necessary. Who knows what is going to come down the pipeline, and who knows what you're going to be able to do to actually contribute to this world, to making things better. So do it. Don't hesitate. Don't question yourself. Get involved in as many STEM programs that you can in school. The National Society of Junior, I want to say it's Junior NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. They have that for juniors. Get involved in that. Get involved in any women in engineering. I think it's called SWE, but I'm probably messing that up. But it is basically a society for women engineers. Get involved in that. Find mentors, scour the internet, because they're out there. And it's important that you do this. We need you to come into these fields and to make a contribution. So yeah, if I'm being a little pushy about it, then yeah, I'm going to be pushy about it. Do it.
Anything else you want to add, or any questions for me?
No, thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm honored to be interviewed. I mean, when you said it, I was like, huh? What do I have to say? But
Well,
thank you.
you are a beautiful, smart young lady. Have a lot to offer to this platform, and you've had a lot to offer to the United States of America as well as the world. Working in the patent office, and working in a STEM field or working in a field that has to do with scientific analysis. Like you said, there's not as many females, there's not as many Black females, and just your presence and you doing the job that I know you do and doing it well is contribution, and everyone has a story. So hearing your story can strengthen someone else, and I appreciate you for telling your story.
Thank you.
Where can anyone who is watching get in contact with you? Do you have a web address or email or any kind of projects or anything that you're working on at this time?
No big projects or anything that I'm working on, but they can find me on Facebook, Lisa Lily Solomon. It's Li-Li Solomon, and they can find me on Instagram, Waiting to Be Perfected. So those are the 2 places that they can find me, and they can contact me if they let me know that they saw me on this show or whatever. I will definitely IM them back and DM them and answer any questions that I can.
Well, thank you again, ma'am. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for being here on behalf of everyone who is listening. And hopefully some brown girl who's thinking about going into STEM has been inspired by your story, and anyone else that has listened as well. So I appreciate you on their behalf.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and everyone, hopefully you enjoy what you heard today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you back here for our next episode. But before you do that, don't forget to pick up your copy of Next Exit Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. It's available on Amazon. It's available on eBay. It's available on Barnes and Noble. And it's also available on my website, which is www.nextexityourdestiny.com. Thank you so much, everybody, and bye-bye.